This is again in InfraWorks, and you are seeing the first take on the people mover, the automated people mover, using InfraWorks style for railway on the bridge. And I would like to show you a little bit of that, as well as the, that basic data. So I'm going to flip over to InfraWorks quickly. And then that's our area. And I think I have a bookmark saved to go and take a quick look at the CTA. So inside the CTA, we had a number of limiting factors. So as a result, we had this one alignment that I can then browse and show you how it relates with the rest. Now, these buildings are not just the toy Play-Doh kind of thing. Their elevations are correct because they come from a building database. So as a minimum, the elevations are correct. And of course, within the tolerance or the accuracy of the entire elevation model and this aerial image that all got through the internet service from that model builder. It's very simple. I have buildings, I have terrain elevation, and I have imagery. And for me, for all of us, that was enough to come up with some concepts. Now, first of all, you can see that they are somewhat visually appealing, at least that detail that we were doing. It already has the visual look and feel of what the people mover will look like, even though this looks more like light rail, but everybody's got an idea. And the level of detail that that goes is you can already, let me navigate through it. You can already stand inside that people mover and look around. Oops, it's a little sensitive, but I think we can use it for what we need to. So, but at this stage, we are not interested in going into that detail. But what we are interested in is how does this people mover relate to other objects around it? Notice that I have a number of piers that are basically knocking down those garages around, but I can also go there and click and edit on that and very quickly change the orientation of them and fine-tune what goes there, what goes on site. Horizontal in plan, but also in profile, I'm editing this like a 3D element. And everything, of course, moves with it. And then we, of course, talked about, let's do some alternatives. What if we went over the existing roads instead of running through so many garages? So I simply went, let's draw another one. And I chose to draw railways. And I have this style that's a railway on a bridge, which is what I'm using. And all I needed to do is simply decide where it will be the start of it, and simply just sketch something that will squeeze through the entire area in an entirely different way. And I'm trying to remember now, I think we actually went over and somewhere there like that. Now this is what you might notice later on referring as being a scissor option. So on the south side, we would have a station there. So you need to service the terminals on the south side, and then they would merge somehow similar to this option there. Okay, and of course that was in plan, and I need to now decide on the elevation for them. Of course, this is very preliminary, and let's click on that. But it really allows me to do this. We actually do this in front of the client. I was simply playing with this while they were watching. So you can see that it knows when the tracks are merging, so it's trying to do something sensible. It's not that level of detail. but it's trying to do something that we could use. Now, once I've done that, I can simply go and export this, the next stage. What happened very quickly after this, we got from LAX, we got some aerial survey data, we got some building data that was very detailed, and then we were expected to move to a more detailed concept design from here. Now, as simply as clicking on that data and exporting it as an IMX, InfraWorks Exchange file format, we were able to take this to Civil 3D and then go and deal with some planning challenges and more detailed description of the project in that environment. But I think the concept, and of course we didn't take 5 minutes to do this, it took a little longer, but we had so many different options now that we were exploring, of course. A good thing about this, I know the exact length of each one of these guideways, and I know also some surfaces to kind of already get a preliminary idea of how does one compare with the other. And of course, this is not the whole thing. There are architectural components. So architects at that stage worked in Revit and Rhino and 3D Studio Max, and I don't actually know exactly what other tools they used, but they were able to produce a large number of models that are fitting with any crazy layout of this guideway that we produced in a matter of days. And then just to kind of put you in a perspective, this was back in December last year, before we even got to seriously think about any. Let me just quickly show you what we looked at. So there's one that goes through the center. There's a different one. You notice that there are these pedestrian walkways that are differently laid out. Then there's this concept. There's a 4-station. Then there's this concept. There's 5 stations, but it's splitting. And then this is a loop option. Also has 5 stations. And then there's a big loop option we call, and this one has 6 stations. And then there's another one with 6 stations that is a split, or scissors, as commonly known back in the day. So you can see how many of those were we able to put in. Of course, after the architects put some more solid constraints, I have to basically squeeze in more detail around those buildings, around the garages, going at exact elevation to be able to discuss this and start making some decisions with the client with something that's more solid.